Welcome back. It's a new year. Happy 2017 to you all. I've taken some time off, feeling relaxed. Let's have a nice softball topic to start the year with. Really? We're starting with rape? That's your idea of a softball topic? Alright, let's take a look at this.
One thought I could not get out of my head, and that was, if evolution were true, then how now shall we live? Meaning, if we were a product of evolution, a product of survival of the fittest, if there is no God, and we're just here by random chaotic force, and we're just molecules in motion, if you will, how would that impact our life?
In today's society, you can live however you want to as long as it doesn't harm anybody else. Evolutionary theory through natural selection does not tell you how to live. All it does is explain the diversity of life. It doesn't say you must do this or that, and is not a moral directive in itself. It simply says the best able to survive and breed are going to have the best chance to survive and breed. It doesn't say you must breed. You don't even have to survive if you don't want to. I know brilliant people who have not passed on their genes for whatever reason. That doesn't prove that evolution isn't a thing, only that they chose not to breed. In the same way, the theory of gravity doesn't say you're obligated to fall down, but simply describes one way in which matter interacts with other matter. I don't have to lay down all the time, no matter how comfy I find it. I can resist gravity by attempting to move and stand about. It takes energy to fight against it, but it can be done. We've even been able to defy gravity enough to fly from one point to the other, or even leave the planet entirely.
And I found out that once I studied it, and I studied Darwin, I studied Dawkins, Hitchens, E.O. Wilson, some of the purveyors of evolutionary thought, and they led me to a very, very dark place, because you have to start asking questions. Well, if evolution is true and it's just all about the male propagating their DNA, well, what in the world is, we had to ask hard questions like, well, is rape wrong?
Yes, it is wrong. Oh, I'm sorry, did you want more? As a social species, we have evolved empathy to improve the connections we have between one another. This has led to a better chance to survive, so more empathetic societies are more likely to thrive, passing on that empathy. This change is both genetic and social. Genetically, we have evolved empathy, and sociologically, we have been changing over time to expand who we are empathetic to. Sadly, not that long ago, the people we cared for would usually be the same race, religion, gender, and geographical area as our own, because those are the ones we directly depend on. We have gotten better at caring for those outside of personal connections, but still we are by no means perfect. Empathy has resulted in the harm principle. Any action that causes harm without any kind of corresponding good is not acceptable. We know that rape harms people, and the harm it does is not offset by the perpetrator being allowed to pass on their genes. A person who attempts to rape another is causing harm to society in two ways. First, they're obviously hurting another person, a member of that society, by having non-consensual sexual contact with them. Secondly, they're harming society by devaluing the security that society is supposed to provide to all members by allowing said rape to happen. And, to get off on a slight tangent, why do you say it's about the male propagating their DNA? As the old saying goes, it takes 2 sets of chromosomes to create a new polyploid. Are you sure? Both the male and the female attempt to pass on their DNA by thriving and being attractive to potential mates.
Oh my.
And all of a sudden that it becomes, it's like, wait a minute, but if evolution is about the man propagating their DNA and applying evolutionary thought to humanity, then it's basically the strongest male takes whoever he can to propagate the DNA. And it's a scary outcome.
Evolution does not simply say the strongest are the ones to pass on their genes, but simply the best able to survive and pass them on are more likely to pass them on. If we looked at the precursors of whales, for example, the simply strongest would be at a disadvantage because they would not be as buoyant and would have a hard time thriving in the water as their more lithe relatives. For a modern example, cheetahs rely on their speed to bring down prey. Stronger ones, with heavier muscles, would not be as fast and would not be able to hunt as efficiently, thereby bringing down the ability of their coalition to survive. Fun fact for the day, a group of cheetahs is known as a coalition. In the same way, in our society, a rapist would be less able to thrive because, if justice worked properly, they'd be locked up for rape after the first attempt. Human children are quite vulnerable for the first few, decades of their lives. They need their parents to provide for them much more than any other animal. If a parent is not there because they felt their only role was to pass on genetic material, then those children will not have as much of a chance to thrive as ones where both parents are committed to that child.
What I found after I wrote this book, and I go into that, and you ask yourself all of these things. How do we redefine marriage? Well, marriage would be, in an evolutionary worldview, marriage would be the anathema, because it's one man married to one woman for life, and that is the offspring. But according to evolutionary worldview, if that male is strong enough and he had wonderful genes, he should propagate his DNA as much as possible so that the species can progress.
Again, it's not just strength, but what causes the organism, in this case humans, to thrive. And a group parenting environment where multiple parents are committed to the children is a better situation to raise children in than one where one parent is off spreading their seed as much as possible, leaving the other on their own. My wife and I, being committed to one another, keeps us together, meaning both of us are there to help raise the children, allowing us to do a much better job than I could hypothetically do on my own. Ask any single parent, it's much more difficult to raise children when you're doing it by yourself. That's why emotional pair, or even group bonding in general, is beneficial to society, even a society that accepts evolution takes place, and why a child with parents committed to it will, in general, do better than a child with parents busy, off spreading their genetic material all over the place.
And so it redefines everything about our society, and it takes you to a very, very dark place.
This is the argument from consequences. Just because you don't like where it takes you doesn't mean it isn't true. For instance, I don't like the fact I'm going to age and die someday. That doesn't mean there will necessarily be an afterlife for me. In the same way, you may not like that evolution occurs, but that doesn't mean it doesn't. The universe doesn't care what you or I want. It is what it is, and it's up to us to make things better for all of us. The universe isn't going to. So yes, even with evolution being true, the majority of society still thinks rape is wrong.
He says no, you gotta stop. When he says go, you still gotta stop. When she says no, you gotta stop. When he says go, you still gotta stop.
You know, I occasionally show an outtake or add a funny bit to the end of these videos, but there's nothing funny about rape. If you or someone you care about has been sexually assaulted, don't be afraid to look for help. There are a variety of resources out there to provide legal and mental assistance.